Guys, Gamer Dude back once again to bring you some more awesome gaming content. Today we are going to be talking about Just Cause 4. So before I get started, I'm going to keep this brief. Shout out to all my subscribers, thank you so much for your support. Thank you to everyone who's recently subscribed. I really do appreciate your support, your likes, your comments and feedback. Now then, to business. I want to talk about Just Cause 4 for the sake just for the sake of it, really. If you're up to date on E3, you know it is due for release on the 4th of December this year. So I'd just like to go into a couple of details about the game from what we know so far and what we've seen at E3. So I've been wondering to myself if Just Cause will actually take the sandbox crown this time around. So we're back with everything else. We've got the wingsuit, skydiving, base jumps, with no limits to that as I can see. You're also fighting under extreme weather conditions now, as we saw the tornadoes. I am so glad they've put that in. Because most games these days are lacking a proper weather cycle, a proper cycle for games. I know Forza Horizon 4 has also implemented the weather patterns. The trailer is on my channel. If you haven't seen that, do check it out, as well as the Just Cause trailer. So we've got, back to the weather, we've got tropical storms, we've got tornadoes, lightning. We also have sandstorms, there's rainstorms. Just basically adding to the iconic insanity that the game already is. Now, with that, I'm guessing that if you're taking over a settlement or something and there's a storm moving in, you'll get a warning that there's a storm coming or something. And I'm not sure if it will help you with the settlement or if it will just cause problems. We just don't know yet. We didn't see much of that at E3. We just saw them staring at a tornado, which I thought was quite cool. I thought it looked pretty good. I must say I'm getting quite tired of the simple day and night cycle on most games these days, with just the odd few rainstorm. If anything, the only game I've played recently that I've seen with a decent day and night cycle with changing weather patterns is Grand Theft Auto 5, with the thunderstorms and lightning storms, which are also still quite realistic for that type of game. So onto the game itself. We're talking about the campaign, the general game. Basically, Rico's ultimate mission is to defeat the rebellion, much like the previous Just Cause games, going back to the first one. Defeat the rebellion, take over the map, cause chaos, etc. The main protagonist for the game is Gabriela Morales. Not 100% if that's a returning character, don't quote me on that. I know there was a returning character in Just Cause 3, this current Just Cause, from the first Just Cause game. It was that scientist doctor with the burnt looking face. So don't quote me on that if she's been in it before. Basically the game revolves around Rico's father. We are looking into his past and what became of him, really. It looks like it's going to be the main theme of the game itself. We're also... I'd like to talk about where it is set. It is apparently... well, not apparently, it is set in South America, which I'm also interested to see. Because we see games set in New York and San Francisco, places like that, but we never see games actually set in other areas of the United States, which I quite enjoy. I would like to see the rest of the states, given that I haven't actually visited the states. So the world itself is going to be the biggest map that Square Enix have provided. It is going to be 1,024 square kilometers. the biggest Just Cause map by far. They have said it is the biggest, and they are quite proud of it. I'm not too sure if there's going to be any expansions like there was in Just Cause 3 and Just Cause 2. We don't have enough information on the game yet, as it's not been released, to know if there's any DLC expansions. So, in addition to that, it is an exotic playground with rainforests, deserts, and just snowy mountain peaks, much like this Just Cause. As you can see, the snowy mountain peak just above me, just up there. So the world itself is called Solis, or Solis. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. But that is where the game is set. I do believe it is a different setting. I'm not too sure about that because I can't remember where the other Just Causes were set. It's been a while since I played them. In fact, this is probably the first time I put this on since I finished it 2 years ago. I would also like to talk about the general gameplay and graphics of the game. From what I've seen and what I've read up on, they have completely reworked the entire game. They've rebuilt it from scratch. They've gone with a completely new engine. They're not using the same gameplay mechanics that we've seen in previous Just Cause games. They've just taken a completely new direction from it. So it's the iteration of the underrated open world franchise, really. As I said, it's got a brand new engine which allows for realistic weather patterns, as I said earlier, with the tornadoes and sandstorms, etc. There's also going to be an inclusion of brand new vehicles, probably ones that we have seen before as well, but also in brand spanking new ones, which I'm looking forward to that. I'm also hoping that they've managed to change the mechanics of the driving, because I don't know if when you play Just Cause 3 you notice it's incredibly difficult to control a motorcycle. That's why I don't really like driving much on this game. I use helicopters and my grappling hook. But even the helicopters in this one are a little bit clumsy. So I'm hoping they have also reworked the design of the vehicle mechanics. If there's anything else, I will keep you up to date on that. I will also be posting any new updates as that develops. Further cementing all the best unlicensed James Bond games. So basically, they're trying to compare it to a Just Cause game, James Bond game. It really is kind of turning into that. I mean, we've got all these gadgets now. We've got the wingsuit, the grappling hook. All that's missing is an exploding pen. If they do add that into the game, it's going to be a bad case of, well, you might as well just rename it Bond Cause, or just rename it to James Bond in general. So this is a direct quote from Avalanche Studios. Francesco Antoloni said he couldn't help but focus on how this industry would take the best bits from previous Just Cause games and make this one much stronger than the previous ones. Few franchises have as strong a template as the Just Cause series, and yet it hasn't quite had its big moment in the spotlight, which I do agree with. I do believe that Just Cause has been too underrated, that it just hasn't got the recognition that it deserves. I for one have always enjoyed Just Cause. I've enjoyed it since the first one on the PS2. And when the second one was announced, when I got my PS3, I was just super hyped for it, and I bought it immediately. Excuse that, there's random vehicles exploding around me. Another thing I hope that they fix in the next game, because it does get quite annoying. So anyway, continuing with what I was saying, Anzalone also further stated that he thinks Just Cause 4 has a legitimate shot at this. He speaks why Just Cause 3 struggled to find its audience, to find its glory, to find its moment in the spotlight, why Weather is the only holy grail of open worlds, and how catering to streamers can mean encouraging players to be creative with the game, such as the modders creating online play for Just Cause 2 and Just Cause 3. Those can be found if you look around for them. I believe it was only on the PC version that they did the mods for it. So this is another direct quote. With Just Cause 3, it felt like the heart of the franchise. I too felt like it was the better of the previous games. I also thought it was going to be the last of the games. Given how the game actually ended, I figured, oh well, they're done with it, that's it now. There's no way of actually knowing at the time of these games' creations if there's going to be another one or not. We just have to basically wing it and hope for the best. And with what we've seen at E3, I'm definitely leaning toward hope this time. It does look quite brilliant. So basically the giant open worlds are already quite destructible and already involve chaos and destruction and whatnot. It already runs up against its available power in this generation of consoles, but the Just Cause games have had rather rough launches, I must say. Just Cause 3 didn't do as well as they'd hoped, so I'm really quite surprised that they did make another one. But let's hope they've learned their lessons from this, and experiences from Just Cause 1 to 3 have made them implement new features into Just Cause 4 that every player can enjoy, whether you're new to the franchise, an avid gamer. Mr. Anzalone also stated that they needed a better engine. As I've described, they completely worked the engine, they've rebuilt it from scratch, and it was really a decision for the company at that level. They really wanted to put this game at its apex and make it a better experience for players. Now, a lot of people are going around saying, oh, it's going to have multiplayer, oh, it's going to be a battle royale and whatnot. This has not yet been confirmed. What they actually said was it is single player only, and I quote this, they said, for now. So whether or not they decide to add open world multiplayer or make it a battle royale, which I really hope they don't, because there's too many battle royale games these days. All online games appear to be doing these days is battle royaling, and I'm getting quite sick of it, if I'm honest. I'm really quite sick of seeing battle royale games. Don't know about anyone else. Do let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would love to hear your comment and feedback on that matter. So post-launch for both Just Cause 2 and 3, everybody was talking about multiplayer modes. As I said earlier, just created this but left open for the fan community if Just Cause 4 continues to grow. It's basically a figure of its own. If people decide to do it, then that's it. If the company decides to do it, if squareenix decides to do it, then that's also it. But as I say, we won't know until later in the game's launch. But this is another direct quote. They've said it's only going to be a single player game because they wanted to focus on a great single player experience. They didn't want to exclude the possibility of multiplayer in the future, but they'd like to see how things go with the game, and basically they're going off what I've just said. They believe that there's not enough singular based story games these days, and they want to focus on that because they're realising that players just want a singular story experience. I, for one, personally love single-based story games. I believe there's not enough of them around anymore. I believe that it's just too overrated for games these days, and developers are getting quite lazy. Where's the fun in going online, killing to be killed, or just going on to do something like Grand Theft Auto, for example, going on to do something and then getting completely obliterated? There's just fun in it. There's no fun at all.
Didn't even break a sweat.
So, continuing on. So, as we saw in the trailer, again, if you haven't seen it, do check it out on my channel. There's those explosive red barrels. So, when I think of Just Cause 3, I picture an absurd amount of destruction. You've just seen it there, the destruction is insane. It's these massive, huge structures that can just be taken down with one single rocket. And I look at this and it is just obvious. That's what people expect in a Just Cause game now. That's probably why the change in weather patterns, the giant tornado, so that causes destruction as well. If you get points for that, I wasn't paying attention to that, I was just enjoying the trailer. But it seems like it's favouring weather and nature landscapes over the destruction of a massive infrastructure, which again we saw in the previous Just Cause games. And I am quite curious, is that the thing they wanted to pull back from? The humongous military complexes, giant steel towers, and focuses on the environments of the games and the big open spaces. I mean, I'd say there's a variety of considerations that go into the way that model of destruction that Just Cause 4 should I say Just Cause 4 will shape. So it's open to a number of different possibilities. So, from looking at the trailer, I believe there's going to be a few different scripted events and a few that won't be scripted. So you can maybe drive up to a random town, for example, and you can, I don't know, maybe take it over, destroy it, or you can drive up to a random town and it's already getting taken over and destroyed. Something like that, some kind of scripted event. If you just bear with me a second, I did have all this written down just so I knew what I was going to say, and I've lost my place. Just a second. Here we go. Locations. I'm wondering if you'll have to 100% every location. As you know, in the previous Just Cause games like this one, for example, there's all these settlements to liberate, different complexes to take over and whatnot. So I'm wondering if they'll implement the same in Just Cause 4. I mean, basically, we destroy stuff because it's fun. So they stated at E3 that system has now completely changed. That destruction is no longer tied to a single location. Every time you destroy something, you occur chaos that fits into another system. That's something that was in Just Cause 2 that wasn't really in Just Cause 3. I would also like to talk about the objectives in the game, like the missions, quests, whatnot, rather than either. There is from what I've seen in the trailer and what I heard at E3, there is a completion mechanic. But mechanic this time around will be independent from the destructive force of the previous games. To do in different locations, there's plenty to do. Basically, we won't get bored. So I also believe that adding the weather into this game is the holy grail. Because Forza Horizon 4 has implemented different weather pattern changes, from snow, rain, hailstone, whatnot. I'm not sure what else is in it, but we all saw it in the trailer. And it does fit in with Britain's weather patterns. One week it could be snowing, the next week it could be really hot and sunny. So they've done that quite nicely, I might add. I'm really thinking that a lot of games in the future are going to be implementing that into their games, just for the sake of it being that much more realistic. So, moving on, I believe they're trying to create a brand new open world for YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and just the general players of the game. Because although the other two Just Cause games are fantastic, they are vastly open world, as well as Just Cause 4 is going to be. With it being 1,024 kilometers, there's a lot to be streamed, there's a lot to be seen, there's a lot to be done, there's going to be a lot of hidden secrets. Because something that made Just Cause 2 feel revolutionary, especially back in the day, was the player expressions, the ability to perform with the game's vehicles, weapons, grappling hooks, whatnot. It arrived before people filming themselves in games was really a common thing. I do Just Cause 4 demo, and it looks like it's very much catered towards the streamers. So I do like the way they've gone with that. It does seem that there's an almost infinite number of boosts and things you can attach to objects that allow for a certain amount of creativity, which I am looking forward to. And finally, I do believe that there's going to be a capture element. A lot of games are going for this now. God of War has recently added it, where you can just capture a shot, change the expression on their faces, whatnot. So it will be added as an extra tool or something. They did state at E3 they possibly might do the launch, like God of War. It was months later. There are things they want to consider, like mode, as I said, video mode as well. But they did say the truth is you now have a share button on your PS4 with a similar dynamic for Xbox and PC. So they may do something down the road that involves that. But for the moment, they're just going to go with people streaming the game and wanting to play the game. That being said, I think it is. I think I've covered everything I needed to cover for that stream. Do let me know what you guys think in the comments. I would appreciate your comments and feedback. Fairly soon as well, I will be getting a new internet provider, so I can be live streaming. So I am currently taking requests. So do let me know in the comments, or send me a message what you would like to do, or what you would like to see me do. Check out my Instagram page as well. It is GamerDude187. So that being said, this has been GamerDude. Happy gaming, and I'll catch you all real soon.